Because for some people, the deepening of intimacy and vulnerability especially is a potential threat.
This is The Deep Dive with Adam Roa.
So to answer your first question, I think about conscious communication, right? The challenge with this, so ideally we would love if everybody had the skills to be able to communicate, and not everybody does, nor does everybody have the physiological capacity to, and I'll get into that. Mm-hmm. Communication is a skill, and it's learned through observation of other people or of our family members, of how to communicate emotion, how to communicate what's coming up for us, how to ask, how to request. There's one of my favorite models for learning how to communication is nonviolent communication. So for anybody who's curious about up-leveling their skills for being able to communicate, look up nonviolentcommunication.com. There's books, there's worksheets, there's all kinds of amazing things. With that said, there are many people who have a difficult time with connecting what comes up in their head or their internal process, and to be able to connect that with their words to be able to express them. And we see these people, and we're trying to talk to them and have these intimate, deeper conversations. And sometimes if we're attuning to them, meaning that we're observing their facial expressions, we're observing their body expressions, we can notice they might clench, or what we call a freeze. Because for some people, the deepening of intimacy and vulnerability especially is a potential threat. So it activates in their system as if there's a threat there. So maybe it's experience from a past love relationship or from their family, where if they express themselves or they express their needs and it was either denied, not received, maybe somebody got really angry at them for expressing their needs, or ignored by expressing their needs, or what was going on for them. And so their nervous system has developed this amazing survival technique to be able to shut down. We observe that and we're like, why the fuck you don't talk to me? Just talk to me. Just tell me what's on your mind. And that further pushes them away, because they oftentimes they'll have shame that comes up. Why can't I meet them? Why can't I be there for them? Why can't I express to them my emotions? Why can't I tell them what's going on? Because they don't even realize that there is that disconnect, or that there's that survival strategy that's happening. Mm-hmm. Now, there's also some situations where people, so that's a skill, right? To learn emotion is manifests on the surface of our body, meaning that we can connect with our emotion through physical sensations. And that's like the primary way that I teach people how to connect with what's going on inside of them. Because what you'll notice is when you have an emotion, it shows up in the body, and it's being activated in different parts. So we have this emotional center that is our from our head down to our pelvic floor, and so it's more of like the torso and the neck. And we will experience emotion in this center. So whether it's a fluttering of the heart, like a heartbeat starting to race, or clenching of our throat, or maybe a flutter or nausea in the stomach, or something along in here. So if we connect with that sensation first, and we stay in that sensation, and we can even vocalize it and say, I noticed that my throat just clenched. And we stay with that, and we can even acknowledge what we're noticing. I'm noticing, and then oftentimes things will just start coming out of the mouth. I'm noticing that I'm really scared. I'm noticing that I'm really upset. I'm noticing that I'm sad. I'm noticing that I just can't talk to you. I'm noticing that my words are getting stuck. All of those are intimacy building, because you're helping the other person to see what your internal process is, even if you don't actually know what the internal process is outside of the physical reaction. So that's one of the primary steps that I would have people go through to be able to improve their level of communication.
Yeah. And I would say, I don't know, I want to speak on behalf of you, but knowing you and you knowing me, neither of us were those people, like initially, right? Like, I don't know, but I didn't know how to do what you're talking about. I was incredibly disconnected from my emotional experience. I was deeply, deeply disconnected. And what's funny about it is how I reconnected was through acting. I went through acting exercises of, okay, I need to get really sad here and cry, or get really angry here. And I had an acting coach that just said, do you have emotions? Like, because I couldn't access them at the depth. I thought I was getting angry, and it wasn't reading to them. Yeah. Right. And to be told very clearly, like, you're not being angry, by someone who's going, what? Even though I'm feeling like I am. Yeah. And I had to logically go through these practices and exercises and classes to reconnect my emotional experience to the rest of myself, to integrate that. And so it's an interesting way of how I developed my emotional intelligence. It was very cerebral in my approach to it, but I want to point that out because, it doesn't matter where you're at now, you can develop it. I didn't have it. And absolutely. I believe you didn't have it. And we developed into these people who now are, I would say, deeply, deeply connected to our emotional experience, and almost at a very high level, able to articulate that.
Thank you so much for watching the video. If you've made it this far, it means that you watched the whole thing, and that means that you're soul family, because you are someone who is asking the deeper questions. You are wanting to expand yourself and your life, and I appreciate that, because honestly, why else are we here but to grow and expand and learn? And if you're getting value from these videos, I want to remind you that it's actually a clip from a full podcast. So there's a link in the description so that you can listen to the entire thing. I encourage you to do so. I think you're going to like it.